FIFA spent years telling the world that the 2026 World Cup would be the most inclusive tournament in football history. 48 nations, 3 host countries, a celebration of global unity. But just days before the tournament began, FIFA found itself trapped inside a crisis so damaging that no amount of marketing could hide it. Because one of the officials FIFA personally selected for the World Cup never made it to the World Cup. Not because he failed a fitness test, not because he was injured, not because he broke any rules. He was stopped at the border, questioned for 11 hours, locked in a holding cell, put on a plane, and sent home. The man at the center of the story was not a random visitor. He was Omar Artan, the first Somali referee ever chosen for a FIFA World Cup. One of only 52 referees trusted with the biggest tournament on earth. FIFA selected him. FIFA approved him. FIFA announced him to the world, and yet FIFA could not get him into its own competition. What happened next exposed something far bigger than one immigration decision. It exposed a weakness at the heart of World Cup 2026 itself. Because the deeper this story went, the more one question refused to disappear. If FIFA cannot protect its own officials, how much control does it actually have over this tournament? Long before Miami Airport became part of his story, Omar Artan had already made history. Born in Somalia, he built a career in one of the most difficult environments imaginable. He wasn't a superstar player, he wasn't a football celebrity, he chose a different path: authority, discipline, responsibility, the path of a referee year after year. He climbed through the ranks of African football. He earned international recognition. He became the first Somali referee to officiate at the Africa Cup of Nations. He officiated major continental matches. He was named Africa's Referee of the Year. Then came the phone call every referee dreams about. FIFA had selected him for the 2026 World Cup. Out of thousands of officials around the globe, only 52 referees received that honor. For Somalia, it was historic. For Omar Artan, it was the reward for decades of sacrifice. FIFA's own refereeing department believed he was good enough for the biggest stage in football. The organization trusted his judgment, trusted his professionalism, trusted him with World Cup matches. Yet within days, another part of the tournament would treat him very differently. Then everything changed inside a single airport terminal. On June 6th, Omar Artan arrived in Miami. He carried a valid visa. He carried FIFA accreditation. He carried the documents required to participate in the World Cup. He arrived expecting to begin preparations alongside the world's best referees. Instead, he entered an 11-hour ordeal. Questions, waiting, more questions, hours passing without answers. According to reports, much of the questioning focused on Al-Shabaab, a militant group operating in Somalia, a group with no known connection to Omar Artan. Yet the process continued. Eventually, the World Cup referee found himself placed inside a holding cell. Then came the final decision. He was denied entry. No public explanation that satisfied FIFA supporters. No dramatic legal battle. No appeal that changed the outcome. Just a plane ticket out of the country. In a matter of hours, one of FIFA's selected World Cup officials went from preparing for the tournament to watching it from home. The image was devastating, not simply because of what happened to one man, but because of what it revealed. The tournament had begun exposing cracks before a ball had even been kicked. But the most damaging part of the story wasn't the decision, it was FIFA's response. When crises emerge, institutions reveal who they really are. Fans expected FIFA to fight for one of its own officials. Instead, FIFA largely explained why it could not help. The organization confirmed that host governments control immigration decisions. It confirmed that Omar Artan would not participate in the tournament. It confirmed that his status would remain unchanged. In practical terms, the message was simple. FIFA selected him, FIFA supported him, but FIFA could not protect him. That reality created a public relations disaster. Because FIFA has spent decades presenting itself as the supreme authority in world football, it decides World Cup hosts, it controls regulations, it oversees billions of dollars in revenue. Yet when one of its own World Cup referees was denied entry, FIFA appeared remarkably powerless. And the deeper people looked, the worse the situation became. Because FIFA had designed the tournament in a way that left no alternative, The World Cup is hosted by three countries: the United States, Canada, Mexico. To most fans, that sounds flexible, distributed, shared. The reality was very different. FIFA centralized its entire refereeing operation in Miami. Every referee, every assistant referee, every training session, every preparation program, everything depended on access to the United States. That decision transformed one immigration ruling into a tournament-ending obstacle, because even though Canada was hosting matches, even though Mexico was hosting matches, Omar Artan could not simply relocate and continue working elsewhere. The structure FIFA built made that impossible. Suddenly, critics began asking difficult questions. Why was a three-country tournament dependent on a single country's entry system? Why were there no backup pathways? Why was flexibility missing from an event marketed as global and inclusive? These were not questions about politics, they were questions about planning. And the answers reflected poorly on FIFA. The governing body had spent years preparing for logistical challenges, yet one denied entry decision was enough to remove an entire World Cup referee from the competition. Then something happened that made FIFA's response look even weaker. As FIFA defended the system, others stepped into the vacuum. Political leaders in Canada publicly invited Omar Artan to referee in Vancouver and Toronto. UEFA quickly appointed him to a major European final. Football officials across Africa rallied behind him. Somalia welcomed him home as a national hero. One by one, institutions found ways to demonstrate support. One by one, they communicated a simple message. This man belonged on football's biggest stages. That contrast became impossible to ignore. Canada projected inclusion. UEFA projected confidence. Somalia projected pride. FIFA projected limitations. The organization repeatedly explained what it could not do rather than what it could do, and in the court of public opinion, perception matters. The story was no longer about immigration. It was about leadership, about responsibility, about whether football's most powerful institution was capable of defending the people it claimed to represent. Every new show of support from outside, FIFA made the governing body's position look increasingly detached, and every headline pushed the narrative further away from football itself. The Omar Artan story is not ultimately about one referee. It is about something much bigger. It is about what happens when an institution discovers the limits of its own power. FIFA selected him, FIFA approved him, FIFA announced him to the world, yet FIFA could not deliver the one thing that mattered most: access to the tournament itself. That contradiction will outlive this World Cup. Because long after the final is played and a champion lifts the trophy, administrators will still be forced to confront uncomfortable questions. Should a tri-hosted World Cup depend so heavily on one country's immigration system? Should all officiating infrastructure be centralized in a single location? And what happens when political realities collide with football's promises of global inclusion? Omar Artan says he will be at the next World Cup. Perhaps he will, but the bigger question is whether FIFA will learn anything from what happened to him, because if the organization cannot adapt, this story may be remembered as more than an unfortunate incident. It may be remembered as the moment the world's biggest football tournament exposed just how fragile its own foundations had become.